Hello. Hey guys, this is really great, you guys. We've got Kurt here today, guys, and we've got Misha. She's here. She doesn't want to be on camera, but she might be on Monday. And Jimmy Dore is here, girls. It's really exciting. Okay, so thanks, everybody. That was a great call to bring him on, wasn't it, Sound Chaser? Really worked out. Much
Was it very bougie?
Bougie.
Was it bougie of us?
Who?
Yeah. You know how bougie it is to say that?
That's very bougie to say bougie.
You got that right, Jim. Okay,
Yeah.
we're still talking.
What gave it away? My accent?
Here we go. Zohar Zispa. Let's see if I can say that right. Zohar Zizapel. Heard of him? Huh? Have you? If not, there's probably a reason. He's Israeli who controls all of America's critical infrastructure. Tucker has been helping out predictive programming doing. What does that part mean? Love Angel. Hello, Love Angel. All right, let's do this. Mike McCrae giving a great defense line. It's a cultural imperative to seek revenge. Love it. EJ Imagine. Thank you, EJ Imagine. Love Angel shows about the grid going down with guests saying they're worried about Iran capabilities. Anyway, he owns these RAND groups. It would be Iran or Russia. It'll be this guy, but of course, blame Iran.
Okay.
Love Angel. Okay, back to Jimmy.
Guess what's happening now in New York? They're making wanted posters for health insurance executives.
What?
Yes. Yes. Like the cloistered wealthy class isn't paranoid enough just yet. Just add some wanted posters and keep them pumping themselves with antidepressants that, by the way, are going to backfire 180. Come on, they can't all be connected to Nancy Pelosi, can they? Am I right? Come on.
Who did this?
Actually, that's not a rhetorical question. But here it is. Watch this. Here's the.
Do you see this? Do you see this? Deny, defend, oppose at the bottom of it?
Look at that. Look at that. Even the person tearing the posters down was conflicted about it about halfway through there. They remembered they had a sick brother-in-law and went to join the protest. Like, that's right.
I think Andrew told him not to tear his face, like leave the face on there so people know that it's him who is being threatened. You know, the guy who came on the next day to say, hey, we're just about giving great service.
Yeah.
That fucking guy.
So I'm tired of being the best man. That's a nice slogan. Let's watch it again. So there's Heather.
Do you see this? Do you see this? Deny, defend, oppose.
That's the guy that got killed. They got him.
No.
And then.
Hey, that's like that death list Ukraine put you on.
That's just very much like that. And so then there's places like this Twitter account is making it all about lefties doing that. If there's one thing that has brought the left and right together, it's the slaying of the CEO health executive. This is not
Taylor
a partisan.
Lorenz
This is not
is
partisan
shacking-
outright. What's that?
Taylor Lorenz is shacking up with Jeremy from the quartering right now. That's how united.
Sick liberals in New York City have begun putting up wanted posters targeting health insurance company CEOs. The poster for the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, who was murdered, has now been marked as completed. Wow, that is sick. Hey, first of all, it's business, Kay. It's business. So,
Wait, do they mean sick because UHG denied their chemo?
is that what they mean? Yeah.
This is sick.
This is sick.
These chemo patients who can't get chemo.
You know what's really sick? That we live in a world where these people are so disproportionately rewarded, especially in the face of the fact that they give nothing in return. That we're supposed to still pump out crocodile tears for someone who viewed us like gum on their shoe.
Well, I think this is to get us riled up, like a Rwanda situation. The thing of like liberals have been doing this. You've already seen the people go, we all hate the insurance. What are you talking about? We paid for insurance and they screwed us. Why would we give a rat's ass? My mother died. So that's such a uniting bipartisan thing that this is clearly a thing to get a little battle going. And you can see the crappy pundits that get in on it and they're like, oh, leftists are sick saying, Yeah, a lot of right wingers saying it too.
I said, hey, what makes you think they're liberals? Sounds like you have a false narrative to push. This is one thing that brings the left and right together. You're pushing propaganda to protect murderous insurance goons.
What are you saying? Breaking 911 might be some kind of paid op?
Yeah, so it seems like maybe breaking 911 is some kind of paid op.
Well, it could also be just some jerk off that set up there's guys that do that set up a post and they just go with the wind with whatever because they check the algorithm. But this seems like like the guy in the poster, it's being paid for to cover up the Pelosi crime hit that it really was.
Hey, I'll tell you what, if you're looking for some quick money, I bet they're hiring people to use their fingernails to chisel off these wanted signs. Maybe
Hey, Jimmy,
what?
I'd like to speak to these leftists out there that did this. Okay, you've had your fun, but I swear to God, if an Iraqi Saddam Hussein deck of 52 cards playing set, a deck of cards comes out with them, that is too far. Please do not do that.
So all I can say, I don't think it was liberals. Liberals do not wheat paste. It's messy, and someone from the office might see them.
Yeah, that's true. Who do you think it was? Who did they hire to do it? An illegal immigrant, probably. Or
Probably.
Dreamers, I say.
Here's someone, Shelley, underneath that. She says, wonder how these liberals would feel if someone posted wanted pictures of them. And just to let you know, Shelley has excellent health insurance, which she knows is excellent because she's never had to use it.
Yeah, I know how liberals would feel, especially in New York. They'd be like, oh, is this some new hip party that I'm going to go to? Is this like the new Diddy party now that he's in jail? And we pretend we're wanted?
When you see people, well, Bitcoin Cowboy says, yeah, unless these liberals are actively trying to keep all Americans sick and profit of them dying, then yeah, put their photos up too.
Well, Shelley, as I call her, Ray Epps the girl,
yeah,
is trying to get a thing going.
Yeah, Ray Epps the girl. That's pretty funny.
How would you feel? And then she can go the other side. How would you feel? That's what this is like. This game is a lot of people are seeing through it, not because everybody's so smart. It's worked a long time, but we've all been screwed over. So you're not going to put that on someone who's been screwed over and they're going to fall for it.
Well, it's nice to see that she got ratioed on her own post. 20 responses to only 16 likes. That's nice.
Who the hell is Shelley, by the way? Who is she?
Who
verified Shelley?
Leafy Maple. So yeah, I'm going to guess she's Ray Epps. Paratrooper Brady says, does it really make sense Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act have raised insurance premiums? If they want to blame someone, blame the Democrats for health insurance being high. Because you know how the health insurance premiums were going down before. The reason why we had to go with it. First of all, Obamacare is a right-wing health. Well, this guy says it. FYI, Obamacare, originally Romney Care, the Massachusetts Healthcare Reform Act of 2006, also known as Chapter 58 of the Acts of 2006, was a landmark initiative to expand health insurance coverage to nearly all Massachusetts restaurants, and was written by the frickin' Heritage Foundation, which
authors of Project 2025.
So this is a right-wing healthcare plan. This is a giveaway to health insurance and big pharma. The left-wing healthcare plan was Medicare for all, or a public option, meaning that you can go buy from your private insurance company like Blue Cross, Aetna, and UHC, or you can buy into Medicare. And you know what would happen if they allowed the public option? All the private insurance companies would go away because everybody would buy into Medicare.
But they're human beings, Jimmy. So what they're saying is blame the Democrats for doing the Republican thing that we only have because the CEOs, it is their fault in the first place.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have this crappy plan if they would have covered people with pre-existing conditions.
That's right. They wouldn't cover people with pre-existing conditions, which is why they had to do Obamacare, which is it forced the Democrats to do a right-wing healthcare plan because insurance companies were denying people coverage out of hand. Oh, you have a pre-existing condition. Being over 40 is a pre-existing condition. So now everybody is at least covered, even though they still deny your treatment when you need it the most.
Dude,
that is such a stupid argument. I've seen it all over Twitter. Oh, this is all because of Obamacare. What the fuck do you think was happening that made
Were you
people...
alive?
Were you alive then? No, baby, you weren't alive.
Paratrooper Brady, the honored veteran that I don't believe is for real.
I said,
I
so
don't see how-
Paratrooper
yeah.
Brady, I had to say, yep, Obama was no lefty. He was a Reagan Republican, which is why our healthcare still sucks. They won't even give us the public option. We're ruled by criminals. So this
Yeah,
isn't Obama doing a lefty thing. This is Obama doing a right-wing thing at the behest of corporations.
Does everybody not remember this? I don't even understand how. I don't believe Paratrooper Brady was a paratrooper. If he was, then at best he's a Dan Crenshaw eye patch phony who's in with the uniparty. But I think there's some fake account. All these arguments, you could see people responding to these fake ass arguments because they're so obvious. You know what I mean? This is like to provoke something. This is like to get a Rwanda going. I'm saying. That's what they want.
This is me bringing people together, and this is a technique I learned from Cenk Uygur.
I was about to say that. I was like, oh, you learned from the feet of the master. Remember how he's always saying that?
Cenk Uygur spends his entire career calling conservatives and right wings pedophiles and racists and sexists and white supremacists and fascists. And all of a sudden, nobody's subscribing to his show anymore. His views plummet. And
well, he made a big decision. He'd rather be in the populous woods than in the warm, Ottoman tent of the whatever the.
He's going to tell you to vote for the Democratic nominee in 2028, and he's going to do that in 2026.
Oh, I think he'll have a change of heart and do like that scumbag that founded Media Matters, the guy that was,
Oh, David Brock.
Yeah, he's doing a David. They're all David Brocks. All these people are David Brock, and they got the balls. I saw him say "grifter" at you. I'm like, are you joking? You're taking. You're taking the thing I've only heard Jimmy saying.
Yes, that's right. I've been the pioneer of MAGA is not your enemy. I interviewed a Boogaloo boy. Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian pilloried me for it. All I did was I interviewed. So I do a show. Cenk Uygur interviewed David Duke.
Yeah, they're anti-gay is probably why they didn't want you talking to that guy who was
yeah, that's right.
LGBTQ.
For God's sake, won't someone think of the poor, rich healthcare executives? I mean, the healthcare executives, that one guy, his kitchen hadn't been remodeled in 3 years.
Yeah. This is all to get, look, I think this is all cover for the killing of the guy about his testimony about the pump and dump scheme. I forgot that that's the healthcare company that had that massive personal information leak.
Yes.
And Nancy got her money out just before that. So already you see like every other war that gets started, it ain't about this. It's about something with resources or money or whatever.
That's right.
And so everybody's supposed to get in the world's dumbest argument about if it's okay to celebrate on Twitter if a CEO of a healthcare company got killed. Are you joking? Literally, it doesn't matter how you feel about it on Twitter. You did nothing and added nothing either way. So to even argue about it, you could see that they're trying to trap you in a hamster wheel.
Okay, over to Steph. Read some super chatties.
All right, Jimmy, I'm going to do exactly what you said. Last week, there was a Luigi lookalike contest in New York City. This week, the NYPD is pulling down posters saying wanted with a pic of the former UHC CEO. Savage. Look at you, Savage. And we just covered. Jimmy and Professor Sachs, is there any hope for the non-interventionist foreign policy before America collapses financially?
I don't know. Carl Jung has predicted something. We're headed for something really horrible, and I wish it's called it's called the age of Aquarius that we're in right now, right?
I thought that's before. I thought that was the 60s, like in the Jesus Christ Superstar. This is the age of Aquarius. I thought we're in a new one now, like the age of Hawk 2. I think it's Hawk 2, the age of Hawk 2.
When did the age of Aquarius end?
Yeah, when Aquarius, Thunberg, Hawk 2.
I think it's when Pisces. Are we in the age of Aquarius? Yeah, it started in 2020.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as we're under some kind of bizarre mental slavery, that's the important part.
What is the age of Aquarius? The age of Aquarius refers to the heyday of the. Oh no. I don't have time. Back over to Steph.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
It's the age who gives a shit.
CBC.
It's debated.
All right. So there's a debate going on here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let me do the next one. John says people should go to the website and donate to the legal fund, John McCarthy. Yeah. Thank you, John.
Rebecca.
Center for Political Innovation has stood for Uhuru 3 from day one, and we will be in the courtroom on Monday. Hands off Uhuru. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you so much for that.
Hey, quick note. It's the age of Aries currently.
Okay,
you know,
hang on.
Mars.
Hold on.
All right, stand by.
Come back to me.
Come
All
back
right,
to
go
Jimmy.
Ahead. Go ahead. Tell people.
Okay, nobody can, let me turn
Wait.
on act.
I can't hear shit.
Song didn't give the exact day. He just said it was between such and such and such and such. I can.
They can't hear it?
They can't hear that. Why can't they
I
hear
couldn't
that?
hear a word of that.
Here, hang on, Rebecca. Let me call you on the other phone. It's louder. Okay.
All right, as he's calling, come back to Steph.
Now, Rebecca.
SS says Musk and Epstein, the third culture dossier, how E. Musk was trained in psychological manipulation by a Jeffrey Epstein funded program. Johnny Vedmore. All right,
Okay,
back
here
to
we go.
Jimmy.
Okay. No astrologer can actually determine the exact day of Aquarius, and everybody has different speculations. As far as Carl Jung, let me look up in the index what he has for age of Aquarius beginning. Hold on. I'm opening Ion, which is where he talked about it a whole lot. The phenomenology of the self, which is the collected works 9. All right, so age. It's not in the index. Interesting.
Okay, you know what? Go back. Go. I'll call you back after this next story.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll look for it.
Was
Okay,
Jung a
thanks.
wizard?
All right, back to Jimmy.
No, back to you.
Oh. Okay. I'm going to read this one again. SS. Musk and Epstein, the third culture dossier, how Elon Musk was trained in psychological manipulation by a Jeffrey Epstein funded program. Johnny Vedmore. Corn Pop. Okay. Look, guys, Operation COINTELPRO is still in full effect. Who would have thought that, right? Corn Pop. Are you going to bring anyone to talk about the prisoners released in Syria from the human slaughterhouses? I would like to get an unbiased report. Crystal, not yet, Crystal.
The human slaughterhouses. What's that?
Yeah, in Syria, I don't know.
That sounds like rape rooms in Iraq.
It sounds a nightmare. SS for the potential future technocratic leaders to create the world of tomorrow. A step towards governance is required, and Musk is now making his move.
Do they mean slaughter rooms like black sites, like the ones we have all over the world, sometimes called wet rooms?
I don't know. And I certainly don't want to look it up right now. It sounds just too horrifying and depressing.
I bet you Syria did stuff like that.
Hi, hello, Betsy. Hi, Betsy. Hi, sweetheart. All right, hold on. You're gonna hold on. Stand by. Come here. Betsy, show Jimmy. Betsy. All right. She's a good girl. Otherwise, I'd pick her up. Here, come here. Out. All right. Okay. Here. I can't pick her up. She's over 50 pounds. Let's go. All right. I'll put you out in 1 second. Is this door open for you yet? Okay. Here we go. I'm back. I know I had to show her. She's a very cute girl. She's a very happy girl. We've seen a sudden lurch towards technocracy during 2024 election signaled by J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, and Musk getting one step closer to being part of government. Ooh, technocracy, okay. Funky, how's it going, Funky? Hands off Uhuru. Bruno Wu and Wei Jinshan are top-level CCP spies. Janet Yellen praises Wei Jin so much his PAG group is sucking U.S. pensions fund into CCP military company. Bruno Wu Ha, Samaging Info, Samaging. I don't know what SAMAGING, info of hundreds of U.S. judges and attorneys. Victor. Bruno Wu runs a drone base in New Jersey, not UFO. Thank you for that clarification, Victor. Great show as usual, Polly. Thank you so much. United Healthcare gave $774,000 to Kamala Harris in 2024, more than any other candidate. Crickets from left Dems have zero interest in fixing problem. Mrs. Ritchie. Let's leave the political label out of this one, Joe. Biden extended lawsuit protection for vaccine manufacturers throughout 2029. What, B-Man? Oh, wanted posters should be the people that allow corporation execs to get away with anti-moral criminality. Can you spell government, Insk? Can you imagine what Nancy Pelosi would do if they started to have Nancy Pelosi posters all over California and Newsom? And Adam Schiff?
Is that illegal to do that?
To put wanted posters
Is that
up?
illegal?
I wonder.
I think you could put up a wanted poster. I think you could put up wanted.
You think
I think you
could
could put up a parody
satire?
Satire, yeah, you could do that.
Just the oligarchs wouldn't like
Wanted.
it too much.
Wanted.
That's
Wanted.
it. That's all we're saying. Wanted.
Yeah, not saying kill
Hey,
them.
Ukraine could put you on a death list that they've crossed people off, and they make all kinds of excuses for them.
Huh. Please consider Russia sprung a trap for the West in Syria. One last quagmire. Organized withdrawal. Assad gone. Russian bases intact. Long game. Look at you, Monica.
Wait, was it a cope trap?
A coop.
A cope? Not a coup, a cope.
A cope.
Yeah, no, that's their plan all along, dude, I'm sure.
Republican Bob Dole proposed what became Obamacare back in 1996 as part of his platform when running for president. P. Walker. Luigi Mangione is going to get so much money donated for his legal fees and prison money. Crystal suggests. Thank you, Crystal. All right, let's do this. Got to get that one. Jimmy is correct about replacement theory. COVID, Ukraine, Russia, and every other issue. TYT has failed for the last few years. Whoa, look at you, Dem Jukes Do 29. Okay, Jimmy's ready. Back to him.
So I'm going to show you how the United States admits that they're starting wars all over the Middle East. And here's this guy. This guy's name is Patrick Clausen, and he's one of these insiders on foreign policy. And he gave this speech in 2012. And I'm going to show you a piece of it, and then I'll show you the rest of it in a minute.
I think that crisis initiation is really tough.
So he just said crisis initiation is really tough. Crisis. So you go and create a crisis so that we can then overthrow a government. That's what he means by that. Let's listen.
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough. And it's very hard for me to see how the United States president can get us to war with Iran. Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests.
So this guy's name is Patrick Clausen, by the way. Is that a stage name? It came down to Clausen or Satanfield, I think. A little bit on the nose with the name is what I'm saying. Here, he says, here, let's listen to it one more time.
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough.
Crisis initiation is really tough. You mean like on your soul? Or do you mean like planning 9/11 on purpose with Dick Cheney? Do you mean it like that?
I think I came easy to him. They call him White Claw around the office.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for me to see how the United States, president can get us to war with Iran.
They got to get us to, do you hear what he's
Yeah.
saying?
That's the part that's kind of bothering me is we get to go to war.
We got to get,
We
he's got
don't
to get
have
us.
to go.
We got to
We
get, these
get
guys
to
are,
go?
these guys are itching for, it's hard for him to see how the United States president's going to get us to war. And damn, we got to figure out a way. We got to get a path to war.
Get us to war.
Get us to war.
It's so insane.
And here's how he says we could do it. Watch.
Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests.
Okay, so the part by the way, he doesn't mean U.S. interests.
Yeah.
When he says U.S. interests, he means the interests of weapons manufacturers, oil companies, battery makers, that for people who want to steal their rare earth mineral, that kind of. He doesn't mean he means
your interest if you know what's good for you, Jimmy.
He means a handful of his buddies. That's what he means.
The International NATO Transatlantic Alliance.
Yes,
AKA the real country you're part of, not America, a minor
That's
state.
right. And it is safe to assume that any military effort on the United States' part is almost entirely resource based, because we are the reincarnation of ancient Rome, but without the good roads.
Yeah. Hey, you should be more grateful. When I was a kid, we never got to go to war.
So here is General Wesley Clark. He figured out that our military is just there for what? To start wars, not end them. Watch this. This was back in 2007.
He said, but one thing we did learn, he said, we learned that we can use our military in the region, in the Middle East, and the Soviets won't stop us.
So he meant what we learned from Iraq, that we could go in and overthrow Iraq or invade another country, and Russia won't care.
So wait, Putin is the Hitler one.
That's right.
That's the big Hitler,
Yeah,
not the thing he just said.
Right.
Okay.
He said, and we've got about 5 or 10 years to clean up those old Soviet client regimes. Syria, Iran, Iraq, before the next great
Libya.
all clean now.
superpower comes on to challenge us. And it was like, I'm coming out of the Mojave Desert. I've been training troops. I haven't been thinking geostrategy for some time. And suddenly a guy just sort of shoves this nugget at you. Well, you remember it. It was a pretty stunning thing. You mean the purpose of the military is to start wars and change governments? It's not to sort of deter conflict? We're going to invade countries? And my mind was spinning. And I put that aside. It was like a nugget that you hold on to. This country was taken over by a group of people with a policy coup. Wolfowitz and Cheney and Rumsfeld, and you could name a half dozen other collaborators from the Project for a New American Century. They wanted us to destabilize the Middle East, turn it upside down, make it under our control. It went back to those comments in 1991. Now, did anybody ever tell you that?
No.
Was there a national dialogue on this?
No.
Did senators and congressmen stand up and denounce this plan?
No.
Was there a full-fledged American debate on it?
No.
Absolutely not. And there still isn't.
And there still isn't. And it's funny that he mentioned Wolfowitz and Cheney. He didn't mention George W. Bush, the actual president who did Iraq.
The one guy who didn't really matter in it, unless he said anything as a president to stop it.
Yeah. So he's saying that there's a group of people who are running like a separate country, a separate state under the surface. What would you call that? A beneath the state, a far down state?
A beneath state.
A beneath state. Oh, or maybe a deep state. And so he's just telling you, so everything you hear about the war in Ukraine, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Iran, it's all been predetermined and it's all a lie. And they give you propaganda. And people are dumb enough to believe the propaganda. Oh, Iraq's got weapons of mass destruction. Oh, Muammar Gaddafi is a terrorist and he's killing his own people. Saddam Hussein's killing his own people. I mean, Assad is killing his own people. Oh, the poor Ukrainians got invaded by the Russia for no reason.
Wait, Jimmy, how did Assad kill his own people? With a virus that he had made in China?
And so that kind of propaganda works. And it works because just talk to your friends because they all believe it. They're all happy that there's a literal Al-Qaeda guy in charge of Syria now.
He's good now, like
so,
Azov. Remember?
So want to see the people who fall for the propaganda? Cenk Uygur. So
What?
he likes to brag that he runs the biggest lefty media organization in the world. He doesn't. No one watches his show, and his paying members have left him.
He doesn't even have the biggest lefty belt size in the world.
So here we are. Here he is talking about Syria. Let's listen to him talk about Syria.
Who's this young improver he's talking to?
What? So here he is when they wanted Obama to bomb Syria.
Come on.
And he did.
Did we get to?
And he did. Here we go.
I'm curious, Jimmy, that you might agree with that. Like that this doesn't accomplish much, and hence what's the point? But does that mean that if it did accomplish more, you'd be in favor of it, or no? Like,
No.
so you're against it under all circumstances?
So under all circumstances, I'm against it because it's just more war and there's no reason.
Yeah, under all circumstances, I'm against the United States bombing illegally other countries without declaring war.
Look at them looking at you like you're the elephant man.
Like exactly, all of them.
To it. Certainly not the reason they're giving us. I have a hard
That's Ben Mankiewicz, host of Turner Classic Movies, also on board with the Syrian war.
time believing that Barack Obama gives a shit about the civilians in Syria. I really don't think he cares. And because if he did care, if that was really this litmus test of innocent people, why aren't we bombing North Korea? Why aren't we bombing?
Because we can't. And isn't that fair? Look, I'm going to take you guys on that, okay? Because so we can't bomb Russia if Russia uses chemical weapons because we don't want to start World War III. You're right, absolutely, right? Okay, but why don't we take the low-lying fruit? Okay, like
why don't we take the low-lying fruit? That's all it takes. It's what's easily available without any work involved.
Yeah, low-lying fruit. Was he talking about his nephew?
He's basically the pizza rat for news stories, but here he goes. He's got more to say.
send a message wherever we practically can. So North Korea, I'd love to decapitate all the leaders in North Korea and set that country free. But we,
like how we fixed Afghanistan, how we fixed Libya, how we fixed Iraq, how we fixed Syria, and now there's a goddamn Al-Qaeda guy running it. Every time we get involved, we wreck a place. It's about creating instability, not helping people. And he actually believes, guys, these are all of them on the panel believes this. They all believed that we should bomb countries where we can make a difference. What?
Wait,
by bomb. So he's talking about mass murder of people. That's what he's talking. He's talking about the mass murder of people so we can affect a policy. And they do it under the guise of we're helping people. This was a guy who made his bones screaming about the Iraq war after he was for it. Then he screamed about how bad it was. And then he went on to endorse the Libyan war. And now here he is endorsing the Syrian war and the Afghanistan war, by the way. So let's let this play out.
Wait, you know the question I would put to him right now? Okay, Cenk, you only have two choices, okay? There's a hard question. You got to choose between getting a lot accomplished in Syria with bombing or making it legal for women to have sex with horses. Now, you only get one. It's a tough call, but you got to make it.
Might lose Seoul, South Korea, and millions of people.
Within
We can't
24
do
hours.
it, right? And if we can do it in Syria and help some people, well, okay, that's a good place to start.
Well, the reason why you can't selectively enforce the law is because it breeds disrespect and contempt for the law. So if you're trying to uphold international law selectively, you're doing the exact opposite. You're undermining international law because we illegally invaded Iraq and a million people were killed, displaced other millions, countless. How many thousands of innocent people were killed in that? That was an illegal war. We lied about it. If nobody kept us in check, somehow we have to still keep other people in check. I said it yesterday, you can't have Tony Soprano giving out parking tickets. It doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, but if you...
I don't know why Israel flipped on it, but they did. So is that part of our decision making? Have you been paying attention to American
Why did Israel flip on the Syrian war? Now they're for the Syrian war. That's what he's saying.
politics? Of course it's part of our decision making. But I don't view that as nefarious. I view that as like, I don't know, like if you're Israel, Assad is never going to harm you. And so the fact that they're now saying we should attack Assad, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Wait, what did he just say?
He said Assad's never going to be a threat to Israel. So now that Israel's on board for attacking Syria, that's a good thing.
Because they might be less insane later and not want to do the thing against someone who can't.
Because I guess Cenk never heard of the Greater Israel Project, and right now Israel has invaded Syria and is occupying it.
Well, also he thinks like a psychopath.
He thinks like a 2-year-old.
That's like game theory. Okay, we can't bomb Russia or North Korea. Who can we bomb? That's not even being the cop of the world. That's like, I mean, it is, in a lot of ways. But
and so just to remind people that he went on the hill and screamed that I was a preposterous liar for saying he supported bombing Syria. Just so you know
preposterous. Well, let's not say things we can't take back. Preposterous.
And there I have a 10-minute video of him advocating for bombing Syria. By the way, anywhere. The low-lying fruit. We should bomb anywhere we can.
By the way, his preposterous sounds like his waist size.
Yeah. So he's like a shapeshifter, but he only shifts into a fatter guy. And he doesn't remember what he said because that was a whole nother personality. All he knows is to get out there and say it like you mean it. It looks like he's being coached by Harry Sissa. So that you go, well, what is it? Who does it works on? Everybody at the Young Turks. Everybody at the Young Turks bought the lie about Libya, bought the lie about Syria, bought the lie about Ukraine. They've learned nothing from Iraq. Nothing. Well, everybody at the world's largest lefty news organization, they all repeat pro-war State Department talking points. They all repeat Pentagon, CIA talking points about every goddamn war. That's how so now in Syria, this guy is now the leader of Syria. We got rid of Assad, and who's the leader? This guy who we have a $10 million. The State Department for years has had a $10 million reward for the capture of this guy. Mohammed al-Jawlani, because he is an al-Qaeda leader terrorist, and now he's the guy leading Syria that we installed. We installed this guy.
Wait, he's not an insurance CEO.
No. Here's the U.S. Embassy saying we remain committed to bringing leaders like this to justice. The HTS, they're the ones now running Syria.
He's moderate now, Jimmy. He wears a Cosby sweater or something I saw.
So I want to show you, here's this guy again. I'm going to show you the entire video. And this is how the United States starts wars. And then fucking morons like everybody at the Young Turks believes it. Here we go.
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough. And it's very hard for me to see how the United States president can get us to war with Iran. Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor. Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall we had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode. We didn't go to war with Spain until the until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack.
And isn't it remarkable that he leaves out 9/11 because we couldn't invade Iraq and Libya and Syria until 9/11 happened? Isn't that interesting? But here he's got more to say.
I didn't know Fort Sumter was an inside job, Jimmy.
Yep.
That's news. I knew the other ones were made up, but that Fort Sumter was an inside job?
Yep.
How long has this been happening?
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough. And it's very hard for me to see how the United States
gets to war.
President can get us to war with Iran.
Get us to war.
Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor. Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall he had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode. We didn't go to war with Spain until until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack. So if, in fact, the Iranians aren't going to compromise, it would be best if somebody else started the war. One can combine other means of pressure with sanctions. I mentioned that explosion on August 17th. We could step up the pressure. I mean, look, people, Iranian submarines periodically go down. Someday one of them might not come up. Who would know why? We can do a variety of things if we wish to increase the pressure. I'm not advocating that. But I'm just suggesting that this is not a either-or proposition. It's just sanctions has to succeed or other things. We are in the game of using covert means against the Iranians. We could get nastier at that.
So look at that long-haired, bearded conspiracy theorist Ted Kaczynski nutcase living in the woods in his expensive suit, ranting about some far-fetched fantasy about America creating the reasons for its own wars, like we're running some kind of extortion racket. Get a haircut, hippie.
I mean, he should anyway. Look at that crazy ginger hair. Jimmy, I'm blown away right now. What I took from that is 9/11 is the first attack on America that was not an inside job. Because if it wasn't, that means it's the first one. Every single one he just named were false flags to get us in war on purpose that most people know but don't think about.
Pearl Harbor was actually the Japanese. But
they let it happen.
But they let it happen, just like October 7th. They let October 7th happen. They had been warned, and they let it happen. You can't say that. You're not supposed to say that.
And much like that, we paid the Japanese to do it, I guess. we propped them up in hopes they would do it because we were about to get run out of office for being corrupt and stacking the court and about to be deposed by our own citizens. And so
that should be shocking to people. It's still shocking to me, and I've seen it before. This is from 2012. That guy's name is Patrick Clausen. He's an American economist and Middle East scholar. That's what a Middle East scholar does.
It was very educational. I got to give it to him.
He's currently the director for research at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, and he's a senior editor of the Middle East Quarterly.
I've got to get a subscription to the Middle East Quarterly.
So these are the kinds of people that surround a president.
Yeah, lizards.
Lizard people.
If you don't think that's a lizard person, I can't help you because I've never heard someone... The only thing he left out was saying the humans will go to war if we do. He should have referred to everybody else as humans.
Yes.
The way Mark Zuckerberg does.
To get the humans to go to war. How do we bring a president to get us to war? We got to get to war.
Now, I don't want to say all the things I'm not advocating right now because people might get the wrong idea and think I advocate them.
Okay, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
gentlemen. I love sprinkles unless I slip on some, accidentally breaking my hip, and then insurance doesn't cover the surgery. That's a bummer. T-Box. Hannah, sir, thank you so much for your generosity, amigo. Much appreciated. The W. Bush admin outsourced torturing folks to Assad during the WOT. That's how they do it in Texas. All right, got it. No fried bologna. I agree, staff. Sometimes you just get horror burnout. Remaining aware of the truth can be exhausting, but it's worth it to stand on factual ground. You're right. No fried bologna. You got that right. Healing Tarzan, the arms race humanity is currently in with the 4-1R technocrats, is to reinvent ourselves from the outside before they reinvent us, it from the outside in. Okay. Healing Tarzan.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Back to Jimmy.
So here's a great clip from the BBC that shows you just how horrible establishment news is. The BBC news host is someone named Martine Croxall, and the guest is a Palestinian-American journalist, Mariam Bangoudi, and she lives in Ramallah, that's in the West Bank. And so let's watch this. She's going to point out some truths to the BBC host. Watch this.
But we have heard some Israeli politicians being vocal in their opposition to what's going on. How unusual is it to hear that sort of criticism?
So you have these Israeli policymakers essentially enforcing a genocide just a couple of dozen kilometers west of the West Bank, and at the same time saying, oh, this is abhorrent, or we condemn this act. And again, you need to remember that these settlers are part of the Israeli system, that the Israeli government has placed them illegally in the West Bank as part of the annexation. Now, the condemnation from Israeli policymakers comes from the strategy within the Israeli military, and that is called perception shaping. And it is a policy that they enforce in order to maintain a image of being a moral army, or being a regime that values human life and values legal regulation.
I just must go back to a word that you used a moment ago. It is a fact that many international members of the international community regard these settlements as illegal, but you just used the word genocide. Is that in relation to what's happening in the West Bank? Are you really using that word?
No, you stupid blinking potato. She's referring to what you've done to journalism and what it's done to us. Of course she's talking about Gaza. If you don't know that, pack up your desk and get the fuck out of that building. She's referring to the
Nuremberg trial. After the Nuremberg trials, the agreed upon definition. That's what she's referring to, which does call it genocide. I didn't even think I was like, oh, it's ethnic cleansing. Hey, call it what you want, guys. Does it make it better?
And then did you hear her say, are you really calling it that? Anybody who does that doesn't deserve an answer.
Are they really calling it mowing the lawn? That's a better question. Mowing the lawn? That's what they're really calling it?
It's amazing.
How dare you say genocide? We call this mowing the lawn.
Who the hell could be so stupid to ask the guilty party if they're guilty and accept their answer? When did the BBC turn into the frickin' Springer Show? But here it is. So let's watch.
So I'm speaking about the genocide that is happening in Gaza. Now, what is happening in Palestine, and you need to remember, Gaza is not a separate entity from Palestine, which seems to be the trend in media. Israel is enforcing spatiocide, and that includes the annexation of territory and the depopulation of villages. In the West Bank, we have witnessed an unprecedented rate of Israeli settler annexation of Palestinian lands and actual depopulation of towns and areas within the West Bank. So that does fall within the overall Israeli strategy of ethnic cleansing. And if that word makes you uncomfortable, I recommend that you go and actually see what ethnic cleansing means, because Israel has de facto implemented every part of what that phrase entails.
Well, of course,
so yes, I do place it in that same category.
Well, of course, Israel would deny that completely, and even members of the international community would challenge some of what you've just said. What is the move?
Of course
which
they
members? The Israeli ones?
would. Of course they would. The Israelis would deny that.
Nobody else, nobody but the Israeli ones and the people that prop them up would say that.
The whole rest of the world is saying what she just said. The whole rest
really
of the
not
world.
international. It's not really international.
The International Criminal Court is saying that. The UN is rapporteur is saying that.
Oh, lots of people who live in the UK would say that.
It's unbelievable. Being British doesn't automatically equate to being smart, just so you know.
Well, you don't have to tell me that.
What is the anticipation, though, in the West Bank of what might happen next, and how is the temperature lowered? Just briefly, if you would.
How do we lower the temperature? How about you stop funding Israel, you frozen ice queen?
Oh, stop using thermobaric weapons. I understand they raise the temperature quite a bit.
That's how you lower the temperature in Palestine. You stop funding Israel, a genocide, apartheid, racist, Jewish supremacist state. That's how you do it.
Who, by the way, will beat the living daylights and imprison and punish Jews who don't agree with this crime. We've watched footage of them doing it. Yeah.
That is exact.
They'll kill you just like you're not a Jew if you
That's
dare.
right. It doesn't matter if you're a Jew. It just matters if you agree with Zionism.
You got to be like, it's not even, I mean, what I love is here, at least in Israel, you get to be on like two parties. Here, we're all Likud all the way.
Yep. Here we go.
Would refute that in parts of the international community. Like I said, this is part of Israel's perception shaping strategy.
Can we move on to the question?
The question.
So, Mariam Barghouti, my question is, what's the anticipation in the West Bank of what might happen next, and what needs to happen to bring the temperature down?
Right. So the anticipation in the West Bank is part of how you just responded to me. So Palestinians are expecting, especially international media correspondents, to devalue what is happening here and semi-legitimize it.
I didn't do that at all. I'm sorry, Mariam Barghouti, I did not do that at all. I did not do that at all. I'm asking you to tell me what the anticipation is. I'm asking you to tell me what the mood is and the anticipation is of Palestinians in the West Bank. That isn't devaluing anything that has happened at all. And we have just reported that the British Foreign Secretary has condemned the settler violence. Please answer my question.
As I said, perception shaping. You can go back to this interview and see how you devalued it. As in for what is the situation in the West Bank, Palestinians are frightened. They are terribly frightened. You have a population that has gone rogue. This is a de facto rogue regime that has psychopathic tendencies. And at the same time, there is a disregard to the fact that Palestinians are facing this completely unprotected. While on the one hand, you're having settlers being armed with assault rifles, M16s, Israeli military is using drone warfare of the Hermes 450 specifically from Elbit systems within the UK against Palestinians. We have had nearly 700 Palestinians killed in the last 10 months. So in terms of anticipation, it hinges on what the international community will allow to persist. Notwithstanding Israeli comments, notwithstanding your coverage of who condemned what, but in practice, in actual live practice.
Mariam Barghouti, thank you very much for talking to us here on BBC News.
Wow. I've only seen Jordan Peterson treated that poorly on BBC News.
Right? I know. That's one of those girl fights where you want to see the brunette win.
I didn't devalue. Well, I mean, by talking over me and brushing past that little genocide thing, it seems like you're devaluing it. I know other kinds of genocide we would stop and pause a moment and consider the genocide.
Can't say genocide on BBC. Do watch the subtle manipulation of audience is how they follow our facts with challenge, but don't allow us to challenge that claim.
It's not subtle.
So
it wasn't subtle.
She tweeted that out. No, it wasn't. So Rania says the incredulous look on the BBC interviewer's face when given a reality check is all you need to know about the bias and ignorance of mainstream media regarding the ongoing genocide, land theft, illegal land annexation, and ethnic cleansing that's going on and has been going on in Palestine.
You don't think there's an IDF there with holding an Uzi on her while she does the interview?
Let's remember that blonde woman would not have that job at the BBC if she wasn't as stupid as she is. If
It's
she
so stupid.
didn't already agree with if she didn't go along with the establishment, she would have never rose to that position.
And she knows it. That's why she had to cut off. She knows they didn't probably have to say nothing in her earpiece. She knows what to do. I watch this all the time just talking to people that don't have BBC jobs. An uncomfortable topic like where you might have to say something's right or wrong that could affect you in a circle, especially entertainment, they will punk right out. And they did it before with every other thing that sucks. Of course, this thing, they're going to do that. The thing that controls America.
Imagine getting this great job that pays buckets of money, the host of the BBC, and then you have to lie about this. You have to lie about everything and somehow drink yourself asleep every night. Because that's what.
If they didn't rat out Jimmy Savile, the most prolific sexual criminal in British history that hung out with King Charles himself, if they covered that up, what do you think they're going to do for Israel? A lot more. And they did a lot for Jimmy Savile. He died without ever facing any charges for his victims aging from age 8 to dead body.
She's got to look herself in the car mirror every morning and smear on some makeup on her face, turning herself into some kind of a grotesque clown. But it's a total waste of effort because she's already a grotesque clown without that makeup. Here's one more. Ali Yassin says, the composure shown by Mariam in the clear face of the double standards deployed by the BBC, the anger displayed by the interviewer when called out tells you everything you need to know that the BBC is controlled by Zionists. That's right. That's right. That was something to watch. That was something. Okay, we're going to go over to. So we go to.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
So
Hold on.
We're going to make a jumperoo over to Rumble now.